This became the most satisfying project I have done in 3 years.
I thought, this is what we need. We need guidance, we need marketing advice, we need help, and I was thrilled.
The expectations were low, and they were so far exceeded because I really didn't know what to expect.
So Museum Makeover is a program of Conservation Connection in partnership with the Connecticut League of History Organization using funding from the Connecticut Cultural Fund, which is administered by Connecticut Humanities. Each institution who receives a Museum Makeover grant gets 2 to 3 site visits from a team of traveling curators. These are 2 professionals from Connecticut. They work with them over a period of months, and then they receive up to $3,000 that can go towards their installation or implementation work for the project. These small institutions have fabulous collections that really rival the best institutions out there. Each one of them basically got a masterclass in how to do an exhibit, in how to provide best standards of care for their collections. And you could see the growth and development in everyone who participated.
The first thing I thought of when I heard about the Museum Makeover project was it was a fantastic opportunity for cultural organizations and historic sites in Connecticut to breathe a little fresh air into their collection and to be able to either dig deeper into what they already interpret and show their visitor, or to take what they show and turn it on its side a little bit and look at it from a different perspective.
Not only was it obviously a great opportunity for especially smaller sites to receive this funding and receive like a very manageable amount of funding so that they could sort of do a very manageable, doable project, but then also have, you know, not just expertise per se, but also just support, right? And collegiality and the opportunity to have a friendly ear who's been there before, you know, to talk through your projects, to think about, you know, how are we going to present this to our board? How are we going to, you know, get the ball rolling on something that might have been an idea for a long time, and we just need that extra step, that extra push to actually kind of bring it to fruition.
Well, when I first heard about the Museum Makeover program, I thought, well, let's apply. Maybe we'll be lucky and be one of the places chosen. And we have a lot of options for the project, so we had to decide which was the most focused, which we could do and make a difference with. And I think it has made a difference with the Ensign Bickford exhibit.
Simsbury Historical Society was a great example of how we all work together as a team, and it was really the process of discovery, I think. As Barbara was pulling things out of the archive, we were able to make the connection with certain aspects of the immigrant stories and the women workers. And it was so amazing to see it all come together at the end on implementation day, to see all that hard work be unveiled with this amazing photo blow up, and that really, I think, transformed the space and enhanced the visitor experience.
I didn't have too much of an idea of what would happen when we started, and when time went on, I didn't know where it was going, but I love the result. And I'm getting positive feedback because I do take people in there and they're saying, wow, I didn't know this. What do you think about that? What's the next step? So I think that's great. That's exceeded my expectations.
I was looking for the consultation. I was looking for critique for some draft plans of our permanent exhibition, and that was really what motivated me to apply.
I felt really inspired by the folks that I was able to work with. I felt really energized. It made me excited and proud to do the kind of work that I do. And I'm so impressed by everyone here in the state that's doing it.
Maggie and Barbara helped us to figure out what's a narrative that we can leverage that can open up more perspectives, but brings in a character that has multi-dimensions. And so when we picked Augusta Malky, who became known as Charcoal Annie, she brought the perspective of a woman, of a woman business person, of a person who emigrated to the US, who needed to build up a business from nothing, but who brought a lot of experience and skills to an environment, and then leveraged that.
The Dudley Farm was an agricultural museum that really didn't show its agricultural stories very well. And I was just looking for some guidance to get me going in the right direction. I knew we had some aspects in our granary that were really unique and special and needed to be highlighted. I also knew that the Dudley Farm was fortunate to have a lot of farm-related photographs that would help to illustrate the function of the granary. But I had no idea of how this was going to be interpreted and put into a display.
When we had a review session with the graphic designer and he showed, his images, it's sort of that goosebump moment where you start to see in tangible, three-dimensional form, your ideas and your plans starting to materialize and becoming, this is really becoming an exhibit rather than just all these ideas floating around in my head.
I think one of the most memorable things was to see the team here at Dudley Farm and Beth look at a space and say, this is what we have, and these are the cool stories that we want to share, but not really knowing exactly how to do that. And one of my greatest strengths is to get people from step A to step Z and allow them to experience that. And nothing is better than working with someone like Beth to be able to kind of put out all of these things, tell the story, and watch their face light up.
One of my hopes for Museum Makeover is that it really can demonstrate the huge impact that small amounts of money, even in our case, we're looking at $3,000 a site, can really have a transformational impact at a lot of organizations. And when you multiply that across the state, when you can see, these investments in the cultural sector from the legislature, from Connecticut Humanities, when we see the impact of those funds in all of these different communities, the effects just multiply and ramify. The public's visiting these historical societies, these museums, and seeing what's possible there.
I think it's kind of a little bit of like a tide that's going to lift all ships. Being able to look around and see these projects that were carried off at all of these different museum sites and historic sites with, frankly, a pretty limited budget, and really sort of small teams of people who just know what they're doing and bring a lot of expertise. That's inspiring.
This makeover is a real plus for our facility. People will visit, they'll realize we may need some volunteers to upgrade some other exhibits, or they may become members. So there's an indirect plus to having this makeover.
It absolutely lived up to our expectations because it brought in expertise and we were able to learn and develop our own staff. I didn't quite expect how great it would be just to feel part of a professional community.
I think people are thrilled to see that the Dudley Farm is just not another dusty old museum, that it's actually moving forward and coming through with a lot of good exhibits for the people to enjoy.
I think this program demonstrates that innovation can take place not just out in Silicon Valley, but it can take place in our backyards. And you don't need to have $1 million to create something really cool. I'm just so glad it's continuing. I think it's an incredibly valuable program, and thanks to Connecticut Humanities and CLHO for keeping it going.